5 subtle signs someone doesn't like you. Stoic wisdom. Some people simply don't like you, and they'll do everything they can to hide it. But the most dangerous part, they stay close. They keep smiling, they keep pretending. Yet the Stoics taught us a timeless truth. Reality always leaves traces. Even when someone tries to cover it up, the signs are there. Small, discreet, almost invisible. But once you learn how to see with clarity, you'll never be deceived the same way again. In this video, you'll discover 5 subtle signs revealed through the lens of Stoic philosophy that show when someone is silently rejecting you, and knowing this can change everything. It can free you from draining relationships, protect you from toxic energy, and help you reclaim control over your own emotional space. Stick around until the end, because the last sign is the hardest to notice and the most dangerous one to ignore. Subtle acts of disrespect. They avoid listening to you fully, interrupt your thoughts, or subtly dismiss your ideas, even while smiling on the outside. At first, it might just seem like distraction. But when it happens again and again, day after day, it reveals something deeper, a quiet refusal to acknowledge you. This is one of the most subtle and yet most corrosive signs someone can show when they don't like you, or simply don't respect you. They don't attack you outright, they just withhold respect. They're not rude, they're indifferent. And this indifference masked as politeness cuts deep. You start to feel like you're not taken seriously, like your ideas carry no weight, like your presence is tolerated, but not truly welcomed. Epictetus, one of the great Stoic philosophers, once said, "We have 2 ears and 1 mouth so that we can listen more and talk less." But someone who avoids truly listening is already revealing something, even in silence. They've already made an internal judgment about you. A Stoic, however, doesn't get hurt by that. They observe with clarity. They don't create drama. They don't get deluded. And that's how they protect themselves. Because when you ignore these small signs, you end up pouring energy into people who've already decided you're not worth much. And slowly, your self-esteem begins to erode. This Stoic practice, observation without attachment, is vital. It keeps you from losing yourself in an effort to please people who aren't even willing to see your value. And these people, they're everywhere. Romantic relationships, work environments, long-time friendships, the pattern is always the same. You speak, but you're not heard. You bring ideas, but they're dismissed. You try to connect, but are met with a disconnected presence pretending to be there. Public figures, known for their strong awareness, show how powerful listening can be. Barack Obama, for example, is praised for his active listening and real presence in conversation. He once said, "Listening is often more powerful than speaking." That made him more strategically prepared, even in the face of those who underestimated him. Oprah Winfrey also shared how her ideas were often overlooked in meetings. Over time, she realized it wasn't about her. It was about the silent judgment of others. And the moment she accepted that truth, she walked away from the spaces that failed to value her. Nietzsche said, "What we do often becomes who we are." Someone who constantly interrupts, ignores, or devalues your thoughts is showing you who they really are, not who you are. Carl Jung added, "People will do anything, no matter how absurd, to avoid facing their own soul." And that's why many reject your light, because it reflects a part of themselves they're unwilling to face. That's why the true Stoic doesn't react with anger. They don't try to change others. They simply recognize the pattern, and then they step back with dignity. They protect their energy. As Marcus Aurelius said, "Accept what life brings your way, but never accept what diminishes you." Recognizing subtle acts of disrespect isn't paranoia, it's wisdom. It's the first step to choosing more carefully who gets access to your time, your mind, and your presence. And that is power. 2. Subtleties in tone of voice or facial expressions. Someone gives you a forced smile, but their eyes are cold. Their tone is flat, or it carries a subtle, almost invisible irony. This is one of the most deceptive, and at the same time revealing, signals a person can give. Body language never lies for long. You can tell when something's off. The mouth smiles, but the eyes don't follow. The words sound polite, but there's a stiffness behind them, a quiet hint of disdain or a joke laced with sarcasm. And worst of all, when you try to point it out, they make you feel like you're exaggerating. After all, they didn't say anything wrong, right? But Seneca had already warned us. We must observe gestures, not just words. Wisdom lies in spotting what doesn't match, when the body reveals what the mind is trying to hide. When someone says, "I'm fine," but their eyes say, "I don't care." When the voice tries to sound light but carries an invisible weight, the Stoic sees these nuances, and instead of reacting with anger or neediness, they anchor themselves in clarity. They understand. There's a poorly disguised pathos behind that tone, an inner emotion like envy, judgment, or frustration that the other person is trying to conceal, but can't help leaking through. This perception is essential because it teaches us to see the world as it is, not as we wish it were. Many people will interact with you behind a mask of cordiality, driven by personal interest, social convenience, or pure hypocrisy. But truth lives in the small things, in micro-expressions, in the shift of the tone, the sigh that slips out, the glance that avoids eye contact, the fake smile, the delayed reply. Here's the good news. This skill can be trained. People with strong presence and emotional intelligence know how to do this. A powerful example is Nelson Mandela. He was known for deeply observing before he spoke, not just what was said, but how it was said. His awareness of others was clinical. He could sense discomfort, disguised arrogance, fear hidden behind passive aggression, and yet he kept his serenity, his posture, his presence. That is Stoicism in action. Another powerful example is Keanu Reeves. In interviews, public events, and conversations, he maintains a rare state of presence. You can see in his eyes, nothing goes unnoticed, but he chooses not to react. He chooses to observe. He's not indifferent, he's conscious. Stoic philosophy teaches us we must not be defined by how others treat us, but by how we choose to respond. And that response comes from consciousness. Only those who are unaware react blindly. Those who see choose, and those who choose with wisdom live in peace. Even the philosopher Immanuel Kant, though not a Stoic, said, "The dignity of man lies in his ability to act according to principles, not impulses." That applies perfectly to these subtle moments, when we detect disguised contempt but refuse to lower ourselves to that level. Virtue, as the Stoics taught, is independent of external approval. To recognize the truth in someone's gaze without needing to confront them, that is an act of inner strength. So, the next time someone smiles with their mouth but shows coldness in their eyes, or responds with irony disguised as humor, or gives you a hollow compliment in a neutral tone, just observe. Don't confront, don't explain yourself, don't beg to be accepted, just see it and step back if needed. As Marcus Aurelius said, the best revenge is to be unlike those who harm you. Seeing these subtleties is not paranoia, it's maturity. And responding with presence, not emotional hunger, is a powerful form of freedom. And 3, emotional evasion. Disguised as kindness, some people keep interactions polite and surface level, using generic phrases, always pleasant, but never truly open, never really connected. Have you ever had that feeling of talking to someone who seems kind, but isn't really there? They reply, but vaguely. They smile, but never share. They throw out prepackaged lines like, "Good for you," "Everything will work out," "You deserve the best." But it all feels shallow, mechanical, rehearsed. This is emotional evasion, disguised as politeness. Positivity, good manners, but deep down that's all it is. A disguise, a polite wall, a cold distance wrapped in a warm blanket. And what makes it dangerous is how normal it looks. You start thinking, maybe they're just busy, maybe they're just more reserved, maybe I'm asking for too much. But the truth is in the pattern. They never go deep. They never allow themselves to be touched. They never invite you into their inner world. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "People behave according to their nature," which means that what we often perceive as coldness or indifference isn't really about us. It's about them, their limits, their walls. The Stoic understands this. They don't chase connection where there is evasion. They accept things as they are, not as resignation, but as clarity. And that clarity allows them to choose calmly, to keep investing, or to walk away respectfully and without bitterness. This ability is crucial in adult life because many people will maintain relationships with you out of habit, convenience, or appearance. But emotionally, they'll be miles away. And here's the danger. You might get fooled. You might mistake cordiality for care, politeness for affection, physical presence for emotional connection, and in doing so, you give more than you should and receive less than you need. Emotionally evasive people often maintain just enough contact to appear present, but never dive in. They don't share fears. They don't ask real questions. They never reveal their flaws. It's like talking to a reflection. You see their shape, but not their soul. Some people, however, handle this masterfully. Maya Angelou, the great writer and speaker, once said, "People will forget what you said. They'll forget what you did, but they will never forget how you made them feel." She had a gift for sensing the difference between empty words and true presence, and she lived by a powerful filter. She only stayed close to people who allowed themselves to feel. Another brilliant example, Robin Williams. Despite being known for his contagious joy, he had a sharp radar for other people's pain and also for the absence of sincerity in relationships. Close friends shared that he would quietly distance himself from people who constantly wore a mask, who never showed real emotional truth. In that context, Stoic philosophy invites us into a rare kind of emotional maturity, to notice what's shallow without condemning it, to accept others' nature without submitting to it, to choose our relationships based on truth, not appearance. As Epictetus put it, it's not the events that disturb us, but the opinions we form about them. In other words, it's not other people's coldness that hurts. It's our expectation of warmth from someone who only offers performance. So if you notice this pattern, if someone always gives you generic responses, avoids vulnerability, keeps the connection mechanical, understand, this isn't intimacy, it's the maintenance of image. And you have a choice to keep the relationship at that surface level or to step away with grace. Because investing where there is no fertile ground only leads to frustration. The Stoic doesn't force depth, they honor their own sensitivity, but they don't beg for reciprocity. And that balance is what allows us to build real bonds with those willing to take off the mask of politeness and show the face of truth. 4. Lack of support. Disguised as neutrality in the most important moments of your life, some people don't cheer against you, but they don't cheer for you either. They go silent. They change the subject. This is one of the quietest and most painful signs. They're there. They see your effort, your struggle, your wins, but they remain neutral. They don't celebrate. They don't encourage. They don't acknowledge. They just watch. Sometimes they say things like, "That's cool. Good for you." But they change the subject right after. Other times, they say nothing at all, and that silence screams. This absence of support, this coldness dressed as neutrality, it hurts because it reveals something most people won't say out loud. They're not rooting for you. Not because of open envy, not because of malice, but because of emotional detachment, ego, or discomfort with your growth. Marcus Aurelius once said that a person's true character is revealed when there's nothing to gain from being present. In other words, those who celebrate you behind the scenes, who feel your victories even in silence, who show up even when no one's watching, those are the real ones. But those who disappear in your defining moments or act neutral when you need support the most, they're telling you with elegance and distance, I'm not walking this path with you. And here's where Stoic strength comes in. The Stoic doesn't over-dramatize, but they also don't ignore. They see it, accept it, redirect. They don't beg for support. They don't chase validation because they've learned to trust themselves. Even when the world echoes back nothing, this is possible and freeing. Many great people have lived through this kind of absence and used it as fuel for growth. Oprah Winfrey, for instance, was dismissed early in her career. People said she wasn't fit for TV. Her talents were underestimated, and many of those around her weren't openly against her. But they weren't cheering either. They stayed quiet, detached, and it was exactly that silence she turned into fuel to build her legacy. Albert Einstein also faced this disguised neutrality. Many of his early peers simply didn't understand his ideas, so they ignored him. They didn't attack him. They just offered silence, no encouragement, no enthusiasm, and still he moved forward with discipline, with self-reliance, like a true Stoic. Other people's neutrality may seem harmless, but it's revealing. It shows who truly resonates with you and who's only there when it's convenient. You don't need to confront anyone. You don't need dramatic conversations. You just need to adjust your expectations, your effort, your circle. Epictetus once taught, don't seek for things to happen the way you want them to. Want them to happen as they do happen, and your life will go smoothly. That includes people's behavior. Not everyone will support you, not everyone will clap, and that's okay. Your growth can't rely on someone else's excitement. Your joy can't depend on someone else's gaze. Your purpose can't pause just because someone didn't cheer. The Stoic learns to walk alone when necessary, not out of pride, but out of maturity, because they know real allies will reveal themselves. The rest will stay silent. And as uncomfortable as that silence may be, it's still an answer. So the next time you sense that absence, when someone you care about becomes cold, passive, or neutral, right when you needed a simple, I'm with you. Don't waste your peace trying to understand. Don't dig for reasons. Don't beg for warmth from those who've already gone cold. Just watch, accept, and move forward, because in the end, you never truly depended on them to continue. 5. Passive-aggressive criticism disguised as advice. Some people always come with tips or suggestions, but there's always a hidden judgment behind them, as if something is perpetually wrong with you. It's like every conversation carries a needle wrapped in sweet words. They say they're just trying to help, just giving you a heads up, saying it for your own good. But the tone, the look, the timing, they reveal the truth. They're not really supporting you. They're slowly undermining you. This person never truly praises you. There's always something to correct. They never celebrate a win without a but. And behind their polite smile, there's a quiet whisper of disapproval. You're never good enough. And the most toxic part, they'll never say it directly, because they know how to protect themselves. They hide behind the mask of concern, friendly advice, or genuine care, when in reality, what they're doing is this, trying to diminish you. With elegance, Epictetus, one of the great Stoic masters, taught that people's judgments say more about them than about you. If someone feels constantly compelled to criticize, even wrapped in kindness, it's often a projection of their own fears, insecurities, or envy. A true master and a true friend corrects with humility, only when necessary. No sarcasm, no hidden agenda, just care. That's why the Stoic sharpens his awareness and strengthens his heart. He learns to see when advice is actually a disguised attack. And more importantly, he learns how to not let it pierce his identity. He filters, he listens, if it's useful, but he remains unshaken. This kind of passive-aggressive criticism is common in environments filled with competition, inflated egos, or unresolved emotions. In families, old friendships, workplaces, they won't openly attack you. That's too risky. So instead they pretend to help, but with an air of superiority, a tilted glance, a subtle comparison. You tell them you started a new project, and they say, "Hope you can actually stick with it this time." You share that you're taking care of your health, and they comment, "I just hope it doesn't become one of your obsessions again." You speak about a dream, and they say, "Are you sure that's really for you? I'm not judging, I just want the best for you." That "just want the best for you" is the cloak of cowardly criticism. So how do you deal with it? Not by fighting back. The Stoic doesn't waste time trying to prove something to someone who already made up their mind. He answers with what Marcus Aurelius called silent resilience. He keeps going, with clarity, with virtue, with consistency, and most of all, he refuses to let other people's poison contaminate his soul. Take the example of Nelson Mandela. For years, he endured veiled criticisms masked as reason from people who called him radical, divisive, naive. He didn't argue with them all. He didn't try to convert every critic. He just kept going with dignity, with conviction. And in time, his character spoke louder than any rebuttal ever could. Another example is Beyoncé. At the height of her career, she faced a wave of disguised criticism, constructive feedback about her body, her style, her performance. She didn't respond with explanations. She responded with excellence, with presence, with results. That's Stoicism in action. Stoicism doesn't teach you to be cold. It teaches you to focus. Focus on what's under your control. Your response, your evolution, your peace. And part of that focus is learning how to spot and protect yourself from disguised advice, from words that come laced with venom. As Seneca said, words should be judged by the intent behind them, not just by appearance. If the intention isn't to build, then listen and discard, because in the end, you are not what others say about you. You are what you build, with or without applause, with or without critique. And the stronger you become, the less power those helpful suggestions will have over you. If these words stirred something inside you, take a breath, feel that truth, and remember, recognizing these signs isn't about judging others. It's about taking care of yourself. It's about gratitude for finally seeing what once passed unnoticed, and about responsibility for no longer allowing yourself to be hurt where there should only be respect. If this video brought you clarity, share it with someone who needs to wake up too. Subscribe to the channel. Turn on notifications. Here, every video is an invitation to awareness, a compass for those who want to live with courage, with clarity, with soul. Stoic wisdom teaches us that what truly matters isn't what others think of us, but what we do with what we feel, what we know, and what we are. Recognizing these subtle signs is a mark of maturity. Responding with serenity and strength is a mark of virtue. And moving forward with grace, even without the support you hoped for, that's a mark of freedom. On this channel, you'll find more than just videos. You'll find paths, ancient and modern wisdom that awakens strength, clarity, and purpose. Because living fully takes more than motivation. It takes awareness and courage. See you in the next video.